Warning, XCN and altcoins bearish continuation or bull market. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And if you haven't liked or subscribed, definitely like and subscribe. I want to see the analytics. I need 79 more people to subscribe, and then I can see some new stuff. And I see nearly 53% of you are casual viewers, but it may not be subscribed. So with that being said, 50% of all donations or memberships go to save animals' lives, not my own, and the other 50% will go to get me a new iPad so I can give you better technical information. None of this is financial advice, but I did this video once before, just a few minutes ago, and it did not save because the iPad is a piece of work. But let's try and give you the same information I tried to give 5 minutes ago. Bitcoin still has the potential to have a drop, even though we are building higher lows. And you say, Neil, why is that a possibility? Well, looking at the RSI, we could be forming a W. We could get support off this yellow upward line that's coming here. And then we could get that support and have that continuation upwards, most likely getting some resistance around 100K. If that does not happen, we know MicroStrategy's average Bitcoin cost is around 74,000. So right around this area is where MicroStrategy has done dollar cost averaging. If you don't know what dollar cost averaging is, or DCA, it's accumulating whether the market's up or down and overall getting a better price point and more profit. So if it drops, you buy low and it continues upwards. You buy, it drops again, you're still in profit, even though one would be in the red, the other one would be in the green. This is dollar cost averaging. So we could see this break and us have a little bit of support at 85. If that holds, we could consider this a bottom and have that potential push up. However, what we've seen in Bitcoin's previous history, last time we were building higher lows, right? We pushed up to the 200 EMA and then got that rejection for one further low liquidity sweep down here around 75,000. That is the reason why we think it could have the possibility to drop that low. But you can see clearly that once it hit that point, we were oversold in the RSI and immediately pushed back up over that 200 EMA and had a continuation to new all-time highs. So with that being said, we always take Bitcoin's potential moves into consideration, because if you look at previous history, let's look at October 7th, right here, more or less. What happened October 7th or 8th? Well, let's look at XRP. Looking at another chart, what happened October 7th or 8th? It would be more or less this major sell-off. iPad's lagging out, but right around here, October 4th, come on iPad, let's go. October 8th, major sell-off as well. Completely unnecessary, completely irrelevant, market manipulation at its finest. Had that major pull back up, and we pulled back down, obviously, potentially creating an inverse head and shoulders. But since we had a little bit more rejection, we could see this potentially pull back to 1.76. I don't think we'd be going lower than that, because that was a pretty good low price point for XRP. But dollar cost average your XRP, you're not going to see it at $2 again in 2026, 2027, or the near future, more than likely. I did not expect it to go down to $1.76, as that was market manipulation, but I did have a buy stop around here, so some money is in profit. And you say, Neil, why did you have a buy stop that low? Well, because previous history, looking at it, we had some support here, 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 and here around $1.99, roughly $2. So there was still the possibility for it to come down there. And it did, obviously, just with market manipulation. But then we had that continuation downwards. Some important news in between these bars right here, ISO 222, and we see an instant increase in price when we zoom in, but followed by a little bit of consolidation. We are building higher lows, which is good to see. RSI isn't looking the best, but if we can get the purple over the yellow, we could expect a continuation within this channel. And if it does not hold and we get that rejection on the RSI, we could see a further pullback, but I would not expect anything too dramatic because Bitcoin pulling back, 5%, maybe 10%, XRP and all the altcoins will see some damage done to them with that pullback, but it's nothing to be worried about because we know that Bitcoin will have its continuation to the upside. It's just been a long drawn out period. So dollar cost average your XRP. HBAR, let's dig into HBAR because HBAR, XRP, XLM, and XCN are all in correlation. HBAR, similar thing, October, you can clearly see where that happened. It had that major decrease in price, completely irrelevant. I don't even have to really pull up the actual date because you can clearly see that it had that major wick off right around that time. Very similar structure to XRP, very similar structure to XLM. Similar thing, we're waiting to see what Bitcoin does. And Bitcoin, if it holds support, we can easily see a lot of the altcoins start to build a higher low and start consolidating sideways to try and break out of their channels. iPad's lagging, so hopefully I can get XCN in here for you. My God, just absolute garbage. Every time I upload a video, I literally have to clear my data on the websites, re-upload my email address. This is all the stuff you guys don't see happening in the background. This iPad only has like 32 gigabytes, so the graphics and everything that happens today, you download Netflix, it's a whole gigabyte, so you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to display. And right now I want to display technical analysis, and it's being very difficult. Christmas is coming up, always accepting iPads. But XCN, we're still looking at the same pattern. We're trying to build higher lows. If RSI will pull up here for me, I have the upward trend happening in the RSI, and then I built a higher trend line, which is irrelevant. This other trend line down in the RSI, unless we see support off of that trend line, then it would be relevant. Right now, we just kind of want to start easing it upwards like a ramp, right? You imagine it's a four-wheeler. You want to try and give it an easier way to enter into the truck, and maybe it needs a steeper incline. And if we can get support off of that, that would be roughly where the yellow is at. We could be building higher lows off of that trend line, and then you could do more of a parabolic move and build the trend line even more vertical. So we are essentially just waiting to see what Bitcoin will do for XCN, XRP, XLM, and HBAR. Bitcoin is the leader. If Bitcoin drops, everything else is going to drop, but it's temporary. The temporary drop could be that liquidity sweep to 0.003. That is why I still have that as an option. But I imagine immediate pullback up towards this downward red trend line, consolidation over it, and then pushing up to easily get over that 200 EMA, CM guppy at the same time, and then potentially test this downward trend line. It's been the same thing for the past weeks. Everybody's just waiting to see what Bitcoin will do. Government's manipulating the market now that they pretty much control Bitcoin, even though it is decentralized. So it's like the guy who's buying all the really unuseful Pokemon cards so he can monopolize it. Something that is very limited in value can become extremely valuable if there are no more within the market. Same thing with Bitcoin. If they own all the Bitcoin and they sell it all off, they can buy it at a cheaper price and then increase it, and everybody else loses their potential profit. Obviously, you guys probably know that. Maybe you don't. Some of you are new to this game, but it is a game. When you see the dollars start to go up very, very quickly, you're going to want to sell off early, but try and hold on to your bags, ride the wave up, especially those of you who have been trapped in XCN for this entire time. It's very brutal to see your account decrease that much, but you can see it increase right back to the point where you would break even, and a lot of people will be selling off and not re-entering into the market. A lot of people get scared at that point, and they have their sell-off and they say, okay, I'm done. I didn't make anything. It was just a very stressful couple months. But for you, since you follow me, hopefully you have a calm mind. And when this does pump up to your original entry, if you do sell off, you're looking for a new entry to play the game at a lower price. If you don't sell off, it could still have that continuation. But even if it does sell off and has that pullback, it is going to have a continuation if it breaks out of this downward wedge. It's just a waiting game for XCN. And for those of you who are members on YouTube or Patreon, it's always appreciated, as this is not the funnest part of my day. But XYO, for those of you who are members of XYO, got a little bit more insight, and we are trying to get over this downward trend line. We had that major push up over the trend line, volume increased exponentially, major rejection off the 200 EMA, but we are trying to build higher lows. So if you were in my membership, you know exactly what this is right here. We'd consider bullish engulfing. We got these wick-offs, which show there is some pretty strong resistance, but we are trying to hold above this downward trend line, build higher lows in the RSI down here, so we can have a pullback. And as long as we are building above that yellow, we could see that continuation back up towards the 200 EMA, most likely getting some resistance here around the 0.007, where we had previous resistance. But as long as we're closing higher lows, higher highs, we can see this continuation right out easily. In XYO, even though it is half of a cent, it's got some potential to be moving upwards towards that penny and even higher. Up here's 4 cents. So even though you see on the right it says a penny, 4 cents from half of a penny is very nice risk to reward ratio. So that's kind of it for this video. I feel like my iPad will lag out if I do anything else, but I will create another video and potentially one more for the members of Patreon and YouTube to give you guys a little bit more insight. Good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.